Going to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for August the 22nd, 2017. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of August 8, 2017.
After reviewing the minutes, are there any corrections or additions?
Move the approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully,
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 1 passed. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments August 2nd, 2017 through August 16, 2017.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, sir. The Purchasing Committee met earlier today and reviewed the report of claims, and I move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Are there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 2 passed. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval to accept the lowest and best bids from Simpson Carpentry in the amount of $26,300 to repair 2 structures. Tom Crabtree in the amount of $21,575 for 2 structures. And Tedder's Roofing in the amount of $16,600 to repair 1 structure, for a total of $64,475 to repair a total of 5 structures through the Muskogee Rehabilitation and Revitalization Program, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the Inspections Department went out for bids to repair 5 structures underneath our housing program. The structures are located at 2407 Euclid Street, 1610 Pickens, 11 North 5th Street, 1015 South Terrace, and 1217 Chicago. We are recommending the lowest and best bid on all 5 structures. 2 of them are going to Simpson in the amount of $26,300. 2 are going to Tom Crabtree in the amount of $21,575, and 1 to Tedder's Roofing in the amount of $16,600. The total amount is $64,475. This is being funded through a grant from the City of Muskogee Foundation. The grant was reduced this year. We received $100,000. We anticipated only being able to repair 5 structures with the amount of funding we had. However, with the bids we received, we feel like we can repair a couple more structures. So we will be going out for bid here shortly to do 2 more structures. Be glad to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions or discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
How many more structures you have left, Mr. Garvin?
In Area 8,
Yeah.
probably around 14 approved applications in Area 8. We're not going to get through Area 8 this year because of the reduction in funding, so we probably won't start opening Area 9 until around July of 20.
I just hate to see that this program here at the foundation only gave us $100,000 for a very important program. I just wish it had been the same $300,000. I just feel that's ridiculous.
Yeah, we're hoping next year we will receive the normal $300,000.
Thank you. I turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Garvin, the question that I have is, since we have 14 approved structures, but we don't have adequate funding to do all of those, if more funding becomes available, will we not take care of those 14 first before we moved on to Area 9?
Yes, we have ranked, when we get the structures
Okay.
in, we do rank them, and we do them according to that ranking.
Okay. And I agree with Mr. Van. You know, a time when we're trying to make certain that residents have adequate housing, it's so hurtful to see something that's so important get underfunded. And we hope that they'll be more prudent next time around.
Yes.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 3 passed. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of the best bid from Lot Maintenance of Oklahoma in the amount of $16,487.40 each, for a total of $32,974.80 for the purchase of 2 Schulte FX 1800 heavy-duty 15-foot rotary cutters, brush hogs for the PublicWorks Environmental Control Division for fiscal year 2017-2018, or take other necessary action.
Mrs. Swifton.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Staff went out for bids for 2 rotary cutter motors. We received 8 bids from 6 different vendors. The lowest 2 bids that met specifications were the Bush Hog from Tulsa, New Holland, and the Schulte FX 1800 of Lot Maintenance of Oklahoma. Of those two, the reputation from the references for the Schulte being so dependable and reliable and durable with a very, very low maintenance cost is where we based our recommendation for that particular unit as being the best bid. We have a difference of $137.40 higher for that unit versus the lowest bid. We feel that that unit will probably make that back in the first year of operation and over its course of the next 5 to 10 years in service. So that is our recommendation on the Schulte FX 1800. Be happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
All right, item number 4 passed, and that is our final item for the Finance Committee.
And we'll now call the Public Works Committee meeting. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of August 8, 2017.
Any additions or changes?
Move the approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of Ordinance 4025A, rezoning the property located at 2400 North Country Club Road, Muskogee Golf Club, more particularly described in the Ordinance 4025A from A Agriculture District to PUD Planned Unit Development District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
Before we open the public hearing, I want the committee to know that we have 5 people wanting to speak to this item, number 2, and agenda item number 3. So we're now in a public hearing, and Mr. Garvin, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the applicant, Muskogee Golf Club, is requesting approval to rezone 6.64 acres from the A agricultural district to the PUD, Planned Unit Development District. The property is located at 2400 North Country Club Road. It's on the access road that leads from Country Club to the clubhouse on the golf course. Everyone hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. The reason for rezoning the property is to allow it to be developed residentially. They are proposing single-family dwellings on the property. Looking at the existing zoning land use within the area, starting with the site. Currently, the site is zoned A agricultural and is part of the golf course, or golf course property. North of the site is zoned A agricultural and is golf course. South of the site is zoned A agricultural and is golf course. And east of the site is zoned A agricultural and is golf course and the location of the clubhouse. West of the site, which is across Country Club Road, is zoned R1 single family, and there's single family dwellings. Now, underneath the PUD zoning, they're required to submit a site plan. The preliminary plat that is approved serves as the site plan for the PUD development. If the zoning is approved, the development has to occur in compliance with the approved site plan. So if this is approved today, this is how this project has to be developed. If they make any changes to that development, they have to go back through that complete process. Notifications, Planning Commission, Public Works, and City Council. Now, underneath this proposal, they are proposing to install a Type A street, which is a curb and gutter street, to serve the new addition. You can see the area highlighted in red. That is the curb and gutter street. The area that is being circled now is the existing intersection on the road that goes from the Country Club Road to the clubhouse. At the Subdivision Review Committee meeting, there were some concerns about that road coming in at a 45-degree angle. And we wanted people exiting from the access road onto Country Club to enter at or approach it at a 90-degree angle. So I have requested that they make that change so they can pull up straight to the intersection to make that turn for visibility reasons. And that is part of the requirements. They are also installing a sidewalk / golf cart path around the perimeter abutting all the lots. That is the area that is highlighted in yellow. They are also installing a 6-inch water main to serve the new addition and installing 3 fire hydrants. You can see the 3 fire hydrants and the water line in blue. What's being highlighted in the light yellow is the existing sewer. They are extending the sewer, which is the dark green line, with the man hose to serve the addition. Stormwater, it is a curb and gutter street. Some of the stormwater will be piped south to Country Club Road. The other will be piped north to a new detention pond. And I'll go over the stormwater in a little more detail in just a minute. Street lighting, they're proposing 11 street lights within the addition. They do have an area at the entrance that is a landscaped area and shows the landscape and the type of trees that's being proposed. It's kind of hard to see, but I've just outlined one of the lots in red. I'm trying to show you, a PUD is different than the other type of zonings where you have a setback. For example, 25-foot front, 6-foot rear, or 6-foot side, 20-foot rear. Underneath the PUD, you define what the building area is, the area in which they can build the house on within that lot. And what I've highlighted in yellow, which is all the gray areas, but on this one particular lot, what's highlighted in yellow is where the building can be located, anywhere within that yellow area. So the setbacks right now, where the line is, the yellow between the red, there's 5 feet. So the houses will not be any closer than 5 feet from the property line, but it can be located anywhere within that yellow area. So it may be anywhere from 5 to 20 feet, depending on where it's at. They've also stated on the plat that they will comply with the intensity requirements of the R1 single-family zoning classification listed in our zoning regulations that we've adopted, which means they can't cover no more than 35% of the property with structure. It will have to be a single-family dwelling. It can't be anything besides single-family dwelling. The height requirements within the R1 is 2.5 stories or 35 feet. They would have to comply with those requirements. And that's the same requirements for all the abutting property that is currently zoned R1 that surrounds the golf course. Here are some floor plans that was submitted by the applicants to give everyone an idea of what's being proposed. The top 2 are single story. There's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and then a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and then there's a multi-story one on the bottom, and then a rendering showing what the houses would look like. The applicant did bring some handouts, I think that's in front of you, that shows some of these. Now, at the Planning Commission, there was a lot of discussion about stormwater, so I'm going to try to explain the stormwater. This area that's outlined in yellow is basically the area that we're dealing with, the detention area where the water in this area currently goes. Right now, pre-construction, there's 8.35 acres of this property that flows to the south of this detention area. The remaining portion, which is 7.79, currently goes to the north. And that's pre-construction, before any ground is disturbed. After construction, well, the part that goes to the south, I wanted to show that currently sheet flows basically across the golf course. And that's what the arrows are showing, that it sheet flows and not goes to any certain location. It just sheet flows across the golf course. After construction, they are reducing the amount of water and area that is going to the south from the 8.35 acres to the 4.69 acres. So there will be less water going south than what's currently going south now. The remaining portion, which is now 11.3 acres, will go north. The water that goes south, the water from the streets, the curb and gutter street that is put in, will now flow to Country Club Road drainage ditch and run down Country Club. The water to the north from the street, the curb and gutter street, will go to a new detention pond that's being installed in front of one of the existing ponds. The water that flows south, there will still be a little bit that sheet flows across the golf course. The backyards of those structures will still sheet across the golf course. So there still is a small portion. But the water in the land area is being reduced by half of what currently goes south. This was heard by Planning Commission yesterday, and Planning Commission did recommend approval of the rezoning. there is approximately, I believe, 21 owners of the golf course, and they have elected Mike Ross to represent them. And if it's appropriate, I'd ask him to come up and just kind of give you an idea of what they're proposing on this site, in addition to what I've already told you.
All right. Mike, if you'll step to the microphone and your name and address, please, and to remind this committee that since he's doing the proposal, there will be no time limit, but the other people that we have signed up, there will be a 5-minute time limit. So, Mike,
I think it'll be short. Mike Ross, 4105 Putter Place, Muskogee. I'd like to give you just a little bit of history of the club. Not so much the club that was built in 1907, but Muskogee Golf, LLC, who is now the owners. 5 years ago, the Muskogee Country Club was broke. A group of members, approximately 25 of them, put up the money, paid off the debt to the bank, and made numerous improvements to the existing facility. Well, about a year ago, we came up with the plan to tear down part of the White Elephant that we had that was built in the early 70s and renovate the rest of it. We went from about 22,000 square feet down to about 10,000 feet. So we went to the bank and borrowed some money with the anticipation that we could pay some of this debt off by doing this. That's the purpose of this. You know, the country club facts. There was over 400 country clubs closed last year. Golf's a tough business. If you look at the other 2 courses in town, they're struggling also. The only way we have to make this survive is by going there. So by doing this project, we as the shareholders of Muskogee Golf are trying to reduce our debt so this club can survive in the future. And this is the way we're going to do it, possibly. The existing Perry Maxwell course was originally designed in 1907 by Perry. It was redone in the 70s. The only change to the golf course is number 15, which runs kind of parallel to the housing development. No tee boxes, nothing's going to be disturbed. We are taking the back tees out of play, and for you guys that are golfers, you know, if you hit a big cut, they'd go into the housing development, possibly in their backyard. So we're moving the members back up to the front tees, playing it as a par 4 in lieu of a par 5. And during tournament play, which we have some major tournaments that we're trying to book next year, that could be played as a par 5. But by moving that to a par 4, it goes back to the original Perry Maxwell design, which was a par 70. But none of the golf course is being disturbed. No greens are relocated, no tee box or anything. Now, 3 facts about development in the city of Muskogee. No major private housing developments in the last 5 years within the city of Muskogee. Private. Let me clarify that. Only 20 new homes were built in Muskogee last year inside the city limits. The city has incentives available for builders to build homes and can't get anyone to build one. Here we have an opportunity to develop 27 new homes and increase taxes for the city and the school district. We have 10 of the lots pre-sold. We have people that once we can give them some kind of deed and put the infrastructure in, they're going to pay us. This will more than pay for our development cost. We've been contacted by a builder slash developer out of the Tulsa area that is working with St. Francis. St. Francis is interested in several of these lots as recruiting incentives for the new doctors to live here in Muskogee that they're trying to bring to the deal. Muskogee Golf Club is a recruiting tool for the city, for every one of you up there, for the Port Authority. It's important for this golf course to survive, and that's why we're doing this. As we're all aware, there's opposition to this development. The residents of Country Club Road that these affect enjoy the view, but most, if not all the people you're going to hear from are not members. and do not support the club and have not supported the club. Don't know about you, but I don't know that's exactly fair to oppose something you don't participate in. As mentioned in yesterday's meeting about seeing barbecue grills on the back porches, well, I play a lot of golf in the evenings, and the people that live on Country Club Road, I can't remember one time seeing anybody sit out there and look at the view and or the cars going down Country Club Road. I'd like to show you some pictures of Cedar Ridge's development up there, which is very similar to what we're doing. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
To hand these out?
Thank you.
I got 7. No.
We can share if you need to.
If you need some of those. All right.
So this kind of shows you what the back of the houses will look like. It's going to be very nice. So it gives you an idea. We were kind of modeling.
So Mike, this
Yes.
picture right here, that's the back side of the houses.
That's correct.
That one right there? With the retaining wall?
Yeah. Yeah, they may not have the retaining
No, no,
wall,
no,
but
no,
that's-
but I just wanna
that's-
make sure-
That's an actual picture of development
I just
at
wanna make-
Cedar Ridge from the
For the
golf
committee,
course looking back.
just so the committee knew that which picture it was.
Yes.
That's the one
Yes.
that's retaining.
The other one's an overall view of how they packed them in there really tight. We're not near that tight here, but, while in our opinion, we're helping with the water flow issue as described by Mr. Garvin earlier, there is an issue with South Country Club Road at its current condition. The pipes going south are too small to handle the water. This has been a problem for years and needs to be addressed by the city, by the homeowners, and possibly even by us, since we're gonna be dumping a little more water on it. But it's evident that it's there. There has been mention of the value of the homes across the street going down in previous meetings. We have contacted Mr. Bishop, who has signed up to speak to, very well-respected real estate appraiser. Would like to yield to him when it's his time. If this is appropriate now, or I can answer questions.
Questions for Mr. Ross? Mike, I got one question for you, if you don't mind. You said there was 25 investors in this.
Approximately.
Okay.
There's
many of the-
31 shares out,
Okay,
and
well,
some
anyway,
people own more
my
than one.
question is of those, how many live in this particular area?
About 10.
So they have a vested interest
Oh,
in their
absolutely.
property values too, as we go forward.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Scully, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, if you wasn't, if the golf course wasn't in a financial bind, you wouldn't be interested in this, correct?
Well, no, we would be.
I'm talking about you wouldn't be, would you be still doing this?
Probably so. If you look at the aerial that was put up earlier, we took out the tennis courts and the swimming pool from the old country club. That was all built when we had 600 members. We have 310 members now. We simply could not afford it. We tore down part of the clubhouse because we simply could not afford it. We're trying to adjust to get back so that we can make the club survive. This is not a money-making opportunity for any of the investors. They were told when they put their money up front, don't expect any return on your investment. We were all golfers, members, trying to save the club from becoming a cow pasture.
How much your membership dues?
Full golfing membership for family is $310 a month.
You really gotta be making quite a bit of money, man, to pay those kind of dues.
Well, if you look at Indian Springs, they're $450. Go to the Oaks, they're $850. We are the cheapest golf course in eastern Oklahoma for a full membership. That's all inclusive. You don't pay cart fees.
Turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Van. Any other questions? Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Justin Stout. Justin, we need your name and an address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
All right, I'm Justin Stout, and my address is 3600 Country Club Drive. I haven't been on a clock since law school, so this isn't going to be easy for me. For starters, I'm just asking the city to enforce the regulations as they're written and to actually not ignore them, but implement them to protect landowners like myself. For a number of reasons. Number one, zoning requirements require that the planned development shall, big words, shall not adversely affect a known archaeological, historical, or cultural resource. I would argue that that may be the one thing that Mr. Ross and I agree upon, is that the course actually does have historical significance, and it also has cultural significance. It's important to this town. It's important to the whole county. It's important to the area. It really is a big deal. It's a big deal. Mr. Ross points out that previously it was a par 70 and they just changed it to a 71 in the 70s. But why did they do that? Because technology necessitated it. In order for it to become a better golf course due to technology, they had to expand from a par 70 to a 71. Lengthening the course is actually important to people. It's important to people who choose tournaments there in the locations. So that's what they were doing, and now we're trying to undo something that was done 40 or 50 years ago. Again, it's a historically significant, it's a cultural resource, and it's clearly being harmed by number 15 being changed. Another deal, I'm just kind of shooting from the hip right now. An applicant has got to show that it provides tangible benefits to the city and tangible benefits to the surrounding neighborhood. This proposal doesn't benefit anybody but the golf course owners themselves. It doesn't benefit any of us surrounding people. In addition to that, they have to show, the applicant must show no negative impact on neighboring properties. To even argue that it doesn't have drastic effects on the homes. Now, thankfully, I'm over here. My position is less drastic. But it crushes these 4 or 5 homes right here in terms of overall market value. And if they can find somebody that says otherwise, so be it. And I hope I hear from that person today, and I'll talk to them one-on-one afterwards. But to add 27 densely packed housing units to this neighborhood is going to affect the overall market value of every home, whether or not it directly blocks somebody's view of a beautiful, beautiful golf course. How dense is too dense? We heard yesterday from Mr. Garvin that some of these properties could be as close as less than 10 feet apart from each other, which is another regulation that I would ask the city to uphold. They're supposed to be, the new construction development is supposed to be contiguous and harmonious with the surrounding areas. If my home is about 100 feet from my neighbor's home, and the other home on the other side of him is about 100 feet away, and the home on the other side of him is at least 100 feet away, and so that's the harmony of our area. That's the harmony of the neighborhood that I'm thankful to be in. I'm super proud of it. But it's going to be harmed when homes are jam-packed in 27 at a time, 10 feet apart from each other. How much is too much? Would 40 homes be too much? Would 68 be too much? It was 27 too much. My opinion is that yes, it is. It doesn't have to be 27. Even if it was the exact same location, maybe 14 homes in there would actually meet the contiguity and continuity requirements that the regulations require. A couple other points I'll try to squeeze in before I run out of time. Another deal is that a regulation, again, requires that the applicant submit a professional economic analysis disclosing their financial capability to complete the proposed development. My understanding from the discussion we had yesterday is that Mr. Garvin waived that requirement. He said that it had been brought up to him, and he told them, you really don't have to do that, but if somebody specifically asks for it on the record, then yeah, maybe you guys will need to get me something. Well, that's not, the regulations don't say if Justin Stout asks for it that the city ought to make sure that we check that box. I think the regulation requires them to do their job to actually check the box and make sure that that protocol has been met. These regulations and ordinances exist for a reason. They're to protect all landowners. I've got a 1 acre vacant lot down the street. If I, literally 2 blocks from my house, if I wanted to build a roller coaster on it starting next month, I could apply to you guys for a zoning change. Who would vote for that? Nobody. It'd be idiotic, okay? It would be harmful to those around me, right? I mean, clearly it would. This is harmful to people. It literally harms the properties surrounding it. And to just nod your head and allow it to go on, that's why you're here. You're here to protect the citizens. You're here to protect the landowners. No, I'm just asking you to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Stout. Any questions for Mr. Stout? If we have any questions, I think you made your case very well. See, not Ms. Rutlinger. Teresa, I think you know the routine, name and address in 5 minutes.
Teresa Rutlinger, 2500 Shelby Court. I'm going to approach it from a different angle. I was at the Planning and Zoning meeting yesterday, and one of the comments made was, oh, so we understand that what you want is nobody wants to go ahead and see these houses. They ignored, to me, that comment ignored the drainage problems, and most of all, ignored this thing that I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars we spend every 10 years to go and use as a guideline. Yes, this is green agriculture. This is a dark green agriculture. This means open space. This means parks. This means golf courses. No place in it does it say urban residential. My land, on the other hand, on the west side, is also agriculture, but it's the light green, and it says, yes, you can go ahead and have urban residential. That, to me, is the main thing on this. If they're saying that they bought this knowing that they were going to go and put some houses in there, they should have done their homework a little bit better. I'm pretty upset about that. So go by that. Yes, I'm in agreement that the golf course needs to be saved. As far as these things, these lot sizes are less than half the size of the surrounding lots in the country club. I think that's a detriment right there. We do not have it written down any place because there are no covenants that we can look at that say what the square footage of these buildings are going to be. I had a conversation today, and apparently they can put 1,200 square foot houses if they want to in there. And you don't tell me that's not going to be a detriment to the people that live across the street or anybody in Country Club. Once again, you go ahead and put your, open the water gates a little bit, put this in, and then all of a sudden it's going to be, well, we're not doing as good as we thought we'd be. We'd like to go ahead and maybe make this a 9-hole golf course. We need to build some more houses. Pretty soon there's no green there. If you look also in this northeast quadrant, we don't have that much green space, period, in the northeast quadrant. And why would we go ahead and just say, yeah, just keep gnawing on it and gnawing on it? Pretty soon we won't have anything. Drainage concerns, yes, that was talked about considerably, especially Mr. Lee when he came and talked, and Mr. Stout, Mr. Madewell also was here and talked about it. I know there's been some stuff done today to try to remedy this. Once again, if we're rushing into it, it's going to bite us in the butt later on. Maybe we should spend a little bit more time and make sure we've got this drainage right and everything. Let's do it right the first time, because it always costs us more money if we have to go back and redo stuff. I would still like to see an artist rendering of exactly what we're going to be seeing. I mean, I could pick out pictures and say, yeah, this looks like a pretty good one. We can say, yeah, that'll go in there. If you have covenants that go and say it's got to be at least X amount of square feet, it's got to be at least 80% brick. At least we know, I mean, anybody that, at least in Texas, I'm assuming here in this town, when they do make subdivisions, that you have something to go by where everybody knows that they're not going to be the biggest and the only brick house in the subdivision. On the depot thing, we knew what we were getting into. We knew what those houses were going to look like. We have no idea what's going in there. We might have 1,200 square foot houses. We might have 2,400 square foot houses. We might have a combination. We might have some that are brick, some that are just hardy board. Who knows? And I think that possibly everybody just needs to sit back, take a deep breath, and revisit this a little bit. I mean, their original plan had a phase 1 and a phase 2. Now they're just coming at phase 1, but is phase 2 just around the corner? And just because someone is, the thought that, yes, this is going to just be a field, with what these people paid for this piece of property, it is never going to be just a field. And it's not going to have animals on it or anything along that line. They've paid way too much to do that. And they're going to make it successful. And once again, why do they not open it to the public like Indian Springs does? And they're very reasonable fees, and that's probably why Indian Springs has a 3 to 4 week waiting list on getting in. They close it when they have the big tournaments to the public, and then they continue on. And to me, if I was really wanting to go and make myself successful, I'd open it to the public. I'd get deeper pockets that would partner with me. I mean, they went in there knowing that they were buying a bankrupt business.
Thank you, Teresa. Any questions for Ms. Rutlinger? Seeing none. Mike Leonard, I see that you signed up for this.
I did, but we have someone else that would like to speak. He needs to leave. Could he go first?
Oh, sure. Then I'll call you. Gary Bishop. Gary, I need your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
All right. My name is Gary Bishop. My address is 3507 Bonnevilla Drive, Muskogee. I've lived in Muskogee my entire life, except when I was at college. I've been in the real estate appraisal business since 1984, 33 years. I've got friends on both sides of this issue. I was asked my qualifications. I've been to all the appraisal schools. I have a degree in economics. I will respect Justin's opinion. I respect Mike's opinion. I was asked to come here and give my opinion on whether or not I thought this would have an adverse impact on property values in the area. And in my humble opinion, it does not. The median price point for these properties is $250,000. It's not like they're going to go in and put up a bunch of teepees. These are going to be good properties. Muskogee needs growth. It needs good growth. It needs responsible growth. And I understand the concerns of some of the people in the neighborhood, but these are all within the confines of the golf course, and I think you all have a pretty good picture of what's going to be there. I do not belong to Muskogee Country Club. I do not play golf. I do not live in Country Club. But I have an interest in Muskogee. I'm proud to be from Muskogee. I've lived here my whole life. I've raised my family here. All of my kids have gone to Muskogee schools. And I do have an interest in what goes on here. Growth is important. We have had virtually very little growth within the city limits of Muskogee in years. 75% of my appraisal business is south of Peak Boulevard and east of the Arkansas River. I think it's important. Patio homes are things to come. People don't want big yards. Doctors, older people that move into these and want to live on the golf course, they don't want to mow their yard. This proposal is going to be a planned unit development. All maintenance is taken care of by the corporation. Okay, so you're not going to have any non-kempt properties in this development. I, for one, think it would be a good thing for Muskogee, and I have no data here to tell you that it's not going to have a negative impact. Justin didn't present any data that it would have a negative impact, and it's just my humble opinion that it's going to have a positive impact on the whole city, not just the little northeast corner of Muskogee. Any questions?
Gary, I've got a question. Is, in your estimation, is this project typical of the condensed high-end homes at other golf courses?
Oh, absolutely. This is a trend. This isn't an oddity. It'll be an oddity to not have patio homes on a golf course.
So when you pay the kind of price for a lot to build a home on, it's likely these homes are going to be $130, $40, $50 a square foot homes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't see hardy board on the side of these homes.
No.
And such.
I think you, a pretty
Doesn't
good
make
example
sense, does it?
at the other golf course on the south side of town, they've got patio homes. And I appraised one last week or two for $180,000, 1,400 square foot home within the confines of the golf course and a lot that doesn't stretch 10 feet off the back porch. But every one of them is occupied, and then there's plans to build 2 or 3 more. I've done the plans. So I think it's something that's people want to enjoy their leisure and their retirements, and this is something that's not just happening here. It happens everywhere, and patio homes are a wave of the future for people that are retiring and like to play golf.
One more question. Have the homes on the back side of the course, I think they were all put on narrow lots. Is that in your estimation?
Are you talking about Putter Place or?
I think so, yeah.
Well, those are all fairly good sized lots, and I kind of did a screening today because I didn't want to come up here and just talk to talk. I called probably 12 or 13 people that I know in Muskogee Country Club area, and there were a couple that had some real concerns. But more than not, the people along Putter Place, it's not going to impact them. And I'm not going to throw out names. I can't speak for everybody, but I got a consensus that they could kind of take it or leave it. So that's where I come to my conclusions that I don't think it's going to hurt values. I just can't see it.
Gary, what impact would it have if the country club would fail financially?
Well, that would, in my opinion, that would be a huge step back from Muskogee.
I mean, what impact would that have, guesstimation, on homes?
There's more people leaving when they retire. I've got 7 or 8 couples, friends of mine, that when they quit with their jobs and retired, they moved to Tulsa, or they moved to Broken Arrow, or they moved to Edmond. There's not much to keep retired people here. And this is something that will benefit everybody, as well as the Muskogee's economy as all. This is going to be a $10 million project that goes into Muskogee's tax base.
Would it have a negative impact on the neighborhood?
In my humble opinion, no.
Okay.
And I can't say, I don't know exactly.
So what I'm saying is that club failed, and it turned out to be weeds and grass and mowing round hay bales on it.
Well, if it failed, who's to keep somebody from going there and developing that place with 1,200 square foot tract homes?
Nobody at that point.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Bishop? I think we're about close to the 5 minutes worth of questions.
Okay.
Anything else? Gary, thank you very much. The chair will now recognize Mike Leonard. Mike, address, name and address in 5 minutes.
Mike Leonard, 3916 Putter Place. A couple of things I just want to clear up and assure all of you all. When the investors bought the club, one of the reasons we did that is to maintain the golf course and the integrity of the golf course, because a lot of us live around that too. If the golf course isn't there, our values go down dramatically, because we are living literally, number 5 tee box is outside my back door. So a 9-hole golf course, does that work for us? Absolutely not. That destroys the value of our homes that live out there. So there is no intention ever for this to be anything but an 18-hole premier golf course, and it is one of the best golf courses, by the way, in the state of Oklahoma. So that's just not going to happen. We're not going to invest this money. Number one, no dirt is going to be turned until we have 10 lots sold, which pays for the development. So from the success standpoint or the viability financial standpoint, it's going to be paid for before it starts, or we're not going to turn the dirt. We're not going to put ourselves in that position. So we do have 10 lots pre-sold. Those lots, they will put up a deposit, by the way, and then that will pay for the development cost. So the development cost will be guaranteed on the front side. There's no risk there. As far as the golf course itself goes in tournaments, I know that Justin says he's not a golfer. Well, he's right. That golf course, we just had the state amateur championship out there. Okay, one of the golfers that played in that just got through winning the U.S. amateur. The lowest score on that golf course, the lowest score for 3 days was 7 under par. And you all watch TV and the pros are 20 under par. We'll make 15 a par 4, use those back tees that we're not removing, and make it a par 4 for those kind of golfers. And it's going to make the golf course harder. A 470-yard par 4 is, I can't reach it, and I do well to reach in 3, much less 2. I can, the way it is right now, most of our good golfers, they can reach a par 5 in 2 shots. That's not the way it's supposed to be. They'll be lucky to hit the green in 2 shots. So it's going to make it a harder golf course, not an easier golf course. We talked about the drainage. We're not fixing all the drainage problems because they're not all ours. But we're taking, I think it was almost 4 acres of water that's running south. We're going to capture it and run it north. We're going to help the drainage problem. So, again, we didn't cause the drainage problem. It's draining across our property now, but we're going to capture a lot of that and take it the other way into a retainage pond that we're building as part of this project. Gary made the statement, it is true, golf courses across the United States are developing and building these kind of patio homes, cottages, because of the limitation on space to help their golf course survive, and that's what we want to do is to make this golf course survive. And not only survive, but make it one of the premier golf courses and can maintain it as a premier golf course in Oklahoma. But this is not unusual. This is happening all over the state, all over the United States, where these kind of projects are going in. We're proud to be part of Muskogee. Muskogee Golf Club is proud to be part of Muskogee. We're proud to be able to do a development like this, which we think is going to help the community. It's going to help the town. It's going to get tax dollars for the school, and it's going to be Muskogee Public Schools, okay? And where is the flight going? Well, it's going to Hilldale and it's going to Fort Gibson. Who's doing something in Muskogee to help the Muskogee schools? And we're proud to be able to do that. So we're not trying to hurt anybody. Phase 2, by the way, is off the board. The reason is Phase 2 wrapped on around, actually behind Justin's house. We took that off the drawing board because to us, that just no longer made sense. What we're planning on doing with that area out there, our kids program has grown tremendously over the last 2 years. We had like 75 youth out there this year. We're going to take that area back there and we're going to look at making that our youth program area, where we put a putting green, we put a chipping green for them, where that's where the youth can go instead of walking all the way across the golf course to the driving range or wherever. They can walk to right there, and it's a lot better place for the youth to have a program. So that's what we're looking at doing with that. Phase 2 has been taken off the table. Any questions?
I got 2.
Are you resetting my clock for questions? Thank you. Mr. Van?
Yes, you said you have a youth program?
I'm sorry, sir?
You said you have a youth program?
A tremendous program.
Okay. Does the youth who furnishes the fees for this program? Is it free?
There is part of it that is free. Now, if they want to play on a team and go to tournaments, Mike, you know what that price is?
It's like $30.
$30. But yes, part of it is free. Any kid in Muskogee can come play and learn how to play golf. We went from 10 kids in it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, to like 75 kids in it today. We've got 2 youth golf teams that travel across the state and play. That are that's what costs the $30 or whatever to play. Mm-hmm. So yeah, our youth program is growing, and that's something we've got to maintain because that's where our future golfers are coming from.
Y'all advertise this program because for say for example, some are poor youth like I would have been when I was a child. Do y'all have programs for poor youth?
We got programs for any youth any youth that comes out there is going to get to play golf.
What I'm saying is that you have advertisement for them so they would know about it. Because this is the first time I've heard about this.
Yeah, and no, I don't think we have advertised it other than word of mouth.
think you need to advertise it.
And maybe we need to do that. That's probably something. But you know, we're the home of Muskogee High School plays out there, Hilldale plays out there, Fort Gibson plays out there, NSU plays out there. They all play out there on our course. So.
And one more question. I know you're gonna make money off the golf course by selling these lots, but when you sell these lots and build these homes, are you gonna charge the people that bought these homes? Is it gonna be free? Because we have one golf course when they first started out here, they built the homes around the golf course, and the membership was free. Is y'all membership going to be free to these people?
No. Well, yes and no. We're going to charge a homeowner's dues. That will include maintenance of the yards and the grounds. It will also be a social membership that's included in that price, so that they will automatically be a social member of the club that's included in the price of the homeowner association dues. If they want to upgrade to golf, they can, of course. We'd love to have that. But yes, in the price of the homeowner association will be built-in dues as a social membership.
Thank you, sir.
But if they want to golf,
they want golf, they've got to even buy a golf membership.
Thank you, sir.
So these 75 kids, you guys are selfishly recruiting them as future members.
Absolutely. and I think it's a great deal. We need to get with maybe Martin Luther King Center and work on a summer program for those kids, and I'm all for that, and I think we can get that done.
I'm not trying to be funny, sir, but I don't see too many minorities out there playing golf, and that's why I was talking about, getting the word out, because like I said, I didn't know anything about it till you just said just a while ago. So.
And we can, we will work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing that we had no other people sign up to speak to this issue, we're going to close the public hearing. Now, discussion amongst ourselves and questions for Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for Mr. Ross, if that's appropriate.
Yeah, it would be appropriate since he's the applicant.
Okay.
Microphone, please.
I was just going to ask, of the 310 members that you guys have, do you have a range of how many people express support or discontent for this program?
I would hate to be to guess that number.
Mm-hmm.
I would say probably a majority. There is a few that doesn't like the ideal. A couple of them sitting there. Mm-hmm. But, that's okay. We all have different opinions. We just have to agree to disagree. And they're great friends of mine.
So you're saying a majority of the members are in support, and there's a minority that's not in support?
I would think there would be less than a handful that's against it.
Okay.
The reason being, if we don't do this and take our debt down, our dues are going to go to $400 or $500 a month, and we will lose a lot of members that can simply not afford it.
Okay. Any other questions?
That answered that one. Thank you.
I've got a question or two for Gary. In a PUD development, Garvin, I'm sorry.
No.
Bishop Garvin, I'm sorry. Gary Garvin. Is there a financial requirement in the PUD?
Yes, in the
And
PUD,
there's
there's a couple requirements. Some are optional. For example, one talks about a traffic study. If we feel like a traffic study is needed, they need to provide a traffic study.
Right.
One asks for the financial availability, if they have the finances to do the development. And as they stated, I did make the applicants aware that may be a requirement. If there are some questions on the financial capability of them to build this facility, we would request something from a bank or someone saying that they had the finances to do that. I have not made that a requirement as of this point.
Okay. Is there a square footage requirement?
No. On the PUD, you specify the building area, and the building can be built anywhere within that area, any size within that area. It's not limited to 1,600 or 1,800 and above. It just specifies a building area within a PUD. You just can't cover more than 35% of the lot with structures. So you're limited on the maximum size, but there's no minimum size.
Well, help me
Typically, that's in
understand-
covenants.
Help me understand why it wouldn't be approached as a conventional development versus a PUD.
Typically, golf courses are zoned PUD. The Cobblestone Golf Course, it's a PUD development because you have patio homes and other homes that are a part of the golf course or abutting the golf course. Originally, there was a private road And one of the main reasons originally was because that private roadway between Country Club and the clubhouse. Now they're dedicating a portion of that to the city, so it could possibly go to the R1. But again, typically, golf courses are zoned as PUD developments rather than single family. Under single family, for example, there's just under 7 acres. Under the single family zoning, the minimum lot size 7,200 square feet. 7 acres, 7,200 square feet, you could do almost 40 homes on what they're doing 27 on. With the PUD, what is specified is how it has to be built. They cannot change it or alter it.
Well, I noticed in the wording that I was looking at, it said if there was a major change. Who defines what a major change is?
That would be the planning director.
Well, how's someone going to get comfort in knowing that you're not going to allow 27 homes to become 35 or?
Because I consider that a major change to the intensity. They're increasing the intensity of the development, and I would consider that a major change. If they do anything other, if they try to go any more than 27, I
give me
would
an
require them.
example of a non-major change that would happen that you would expect to occur during a development.
Say they wanted to reduce the size of the building area, say set it back farther from the street. As long as they didn't get it where it's smaller than the 35%, I would consider that a minor. It wouldn't have really any impact on that lot or the abutting lots. One thing under the PUD that's different, did change, which I wouldn't recommend another change, is like the sidewalks. Typically, the sidewalks are supposed to be abutting the street. But in a PUD, it's for unique developments, and they got to take in effect the surrounding area, the surrounding environment, like Mr. Stout talked about. It is a golf course. It makes sense to have the golf cart path sidewalks around the perimeter, so that the residents can go straight out to the path and go to where they're wanting to go. This is about the only place this development could occur without having a major impact on the existing golf course. But that's kind of off the subject. As far as changes, just maybe dealing with some building areas would be about the only minor change that I could see. If they tried to change anything else, especially by increasing the houses, I would consider that a major change and require them to go back through this process.
How many other PUDs do we have that are finished or in process?
Cobblestone Golf Course is a PUD development.
Okay.
The golf course and the villas around the golf course are all PUD.
I think the farm.
Eagle Crest was not, because it was built prior to being annexed in. I want to say there's another PUD, but I can't.
Farm?
The Farm Edition. The Farm Edition. And the one behind the Farm Edition were both PUD developments. Was Putter Place PUD? Yeah. Okay, Putter Place.
So we have some experience in managing a PUD.
Yes.
From the city's side. Okay. I guess this is kind of a question to Gary Bishop. And maybe I'll direct it to Gary Garvin and ask it this way. I would like to see some analysis done before Monday night, assuming that this moves forward today in some fashion toward a council meeting. And I would like to see the impact if you had the country club operating as a golf course and the same property evaluated with the country club not operating as a golf course. What impact does that have? Pick a property. I don't care which one it is. The one right across from the entrance, for example. The Brown's property. If the golf course fails, what impact does that have on that property from an appraiser's standpoint versus the golf course being up and running conventionally as it is now? I'd like to have that information before we decide yea or nay as a council. Okay?
In addition to what the mayor's asking, I guess along the same things, if it's not actually redundant, if we had our own people that can do some sort of an appraisal that will validate or invalidate whether or not property values will go up or down with this development in place.
And have the city do it rather than the applicant do it, is what you're saying?
If we have the resources,
I
yes.
don't know that we have that skill set.
I don't know what we have.
Well, we would have to hire.
Here's my
We would
concern.
have to, get with an appraiser and hire one to do that for us.
We have an example of what a non-operating, a changing golf course impacts properties at Eagle Crest.
Yes.
I mean, it was 27 holes at one point. It's 9 holes now. So we should have some sales in the community that would give us some input that I would think an appraiser could pull up to give them the data needed to see if there is an impact.
I'll get with some appraisers and see if I can get some information.
And I'd also like to know which other similar developments had their financial requirement waived,
Okay.
because I want to be certain that we're being consistent as we move forward.
The ones I've been involved in, I don't think it's ever been required.
Okay.
Unless and the only time it would have, if someone would have said, these people can't afford to do this and they're not going to finish the project. If there was some concerns, we didn't feel like in this case there was that concern.
My concern is that there's only consistency on either side.
Yeah, and two, we're concerned because stuff like that is confidential records, and it's kind of tedious sometimes when you request that information and have it, and whether it becomes available to the public at that point. And so,
Well, along with what Mr. Coleman's saying, we need to either not ask that, or ask it every time, or have factors in which we may ask that.
Because potentially what I want to see us avoid is any other group saying you did this for one but didn't do it for the other. And I just want to be certain that we're applying the same financial standards to everyone.
Is there, since we have some questions, is this something that we want to move to Monday night city council with no recommendation, or are we ready to move forward and with a motion?
I would really recommend that we move to Monday night with no recommendation, because there's a lot of things that I'm not certain of. A lot of questions I still have reluctancy about the project.
Is that a motion, or
I would like to make
be
that a motion.
Mr. Tucker?
Yes, it could be.
I would like to make that motion,
I'll
please.
second that motion.
Have a motion and a second.
Can
Any
I ask
other
one
discussion?
other question?
Yes, sir.
On a PUD, can we place requirements? For example, can we say, here's the square footage requirement, not 35%, but maybe it's 35% and a minimum square footage of some number?
I would need to check in that. It is not a requirement of the regulations. We don't require anyone to specify this is the square footage or this is the type of material you're going to use. Typically, that is done in covenants for the addition, and the city of Muskogee does not review, enforce any covenants. I'd probably have to do some research to see if we could add some minimum square footage requirements.
Here
At this
would be
point,
my
I'm not sure we
concern
could
from
legally
a
do that.
covenant standpoint. And covenants that are not filed don't have any meaning whatsoever. They're just suggestions.
And then covenants.
Covenants that are filed are not enforced unless an adjacent homeowner chooses to require that to be enforced.
I think
Correct.
it has to be 75% of the membership to enforce the covenants.
Well, whatever the covenants say.
Whatever they say when they
Yeah,
were
but
filed.
it has to take some, yeah. Some may be
Typically, it's a
different.
high
Some may
number.
be different. Not the most
Yeah.
ones I seen seem like it was 75%.
Okay.
Any other directions for staff?
I just, before we make this vote, would like to say that live in the area. I love the view of the golf course. My heart winds down as I drive home. And I'm sympathetic to the property owners that have their nice view of a well-manicured course. But unfortunately, and I'm sympathetic of the owners of the golf course, unfortunately, I don't think it's real simple for me that we have the legal standing. I think we're on a slippery slope, legality-wise, of us trying to deny what is an appropriate request to put in a little subdivision on private land in an area with R1 homes already. So,
Is that a staff direction from Mr. Tucker?
Would you like to speak to that, or would you like to?
I think it's a little premature right now since we haven't gotten to the point, but I'm happy to talk about the conversation that you and I had previously had. The question that Mr. Kale had asked earlier today when we talked was effectively, what is the standard for review of a decision for zoning change of the City Council? And what I had told Mr. Kale and what the state of the law is that zoning decisions are legislative in nature. And so as a result, if they're reviewed by the court, they're reviewed on an arbitrary and capricious or unreasonable standard. And so if a zoning requirement is, or a zoning decision is fairly debatable, meaning that there is a fair debate whether it improves or impacts the general welfare, safety, morals, crime within the area, then it'll be upheld. Now, if we are too restrictive in our zoning decisions, then of course we ultimately may face a inverse condemnation claim. But those are on a case-by-case basis, and I don't think we're yet to that point to make a determination where we're facing it. Similarly, if we have a decision that we make in favor of allowing this zoning, we could of course face an injunction based upon or from the adjoining homeowners claiming that our actions were arbitrary and unreasonable. Particularly with some of the things that Mr. Stout has brought up that have not necessarily been articulated that are required by our ordinance, but have not been articulated within the ordinance that's presented, the proposed ordinance. So one of the things that I would suggest to help curve that risk is that we incorporate some of the findings that are required within the PUD guidelines into the proposed ordinance. Because we are required, when I say we, I mean the City Council is required to make certain findings with relationship to PUD, not all of which have been discussed today. So that's one of the things that we definitely need to do prior to Monday night and prior to taking any official action to approve it. So that's something that can be remedied very quickly. But in this case, the issue is going to be one of whether the city acted arbitrarily and capriciously in deciding whether or not to grant the zoning request.
Or to not grant it.
Or to not grant it, yes. And so those factors that I've articulated are the ones that have to be addressed, and that would be considered if we were sued either an inverse condemnation or by an injunction. So is that kind of what you were?
That's kind of what I was.
All right, perfect.
Okay. Any other discussions or questions?
I'll just make a comment, and I'll make it short and sweet. Having had a family member involved in a golf course in Muskogee, Oklahoma, I sympathize with your position to be successful with a community. It's a difficult business to be involved in Muskogee, Oklahoma, to make a golf course not be a cash sinkhole in a community and done by people that I highly respect in business in several different instances. So I appreciate your desire and concern to be financially stable. I think that's honorable. Whether we all agree on the approach or not may be up for question, but I appreciate the concern that you have versus just saying, we're not going to mow this anymore, which could be your choice at some point, and you guys want to take care of it, you take care of it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd say also that everything I've researched so far suggested that those country clubs that were struggling, the ones that chose to do nothing were the ones that sunk. And I think all of our concern, echoing your sentiments of appreciate them, the business owners wanting to do something, is that doing nothing has to be something that we approach with caution. Because certainly if nothing was done and the adverse effect was that the property values on the higher end of the city were to be reduced, certainly those property values on the lower end that we desperately need to be raised will never have a fighting chance.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion?
I just think this is a great opportunity when we are looking at the possibility of 27 new homes in our community. And one of the things that we've been talking about is no homes. One of our biggest needs has been homes in our community and new homes. And actually, when I've looked at, courses around and seeing new developments, it is the trend on a lot of golf courses. So I'm really thankful for them bringing an opportunity for us to be looking at. I appreciate the dedication of staff, looking at all the T's and I's and making sure everything is in place. But I'm thankful for us looking at an opportunity for really turning a corner in our community and looking for a new future for our community.
Any other comments or discussion? I have a motion to move forward with no recommendation to Monday night.
With staff to
Bring, yes, sir?
Questions, yeah.
With staff
Do
direction.
we need a motion to do that, to move forward without recommendation? Or just-
To move forward without recommendation,
Yeah.
yes. Otherwise, it dies and doesn't move forward.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully?
Yes.
Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 3.
Consider approval of the preliminary plat of Maxwell Villas Addition consisting of 27 lots on 6.64 acres located at 2400 North Country Club Road, Muskogee Golf Club, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker, was this premature since we moved forward with no action?
You can discuss it since I know you've got some folks who may have been signed up to speak, but it would also be appropriate to move forward with no recommendation and handle it all at once.
And would it be appropriate to tell the people that have signed up that Monday night they will be given 5 minutes for the public hearing and then 5 minutes again to do the final plat?
Yes.
So I guess my question is can I ask this to the people that are signed up if they want to speak again, take 5 more minutes, or if they want to hold that till next
You
Monday night?
absolutely can do that.
Justin?
I appreciate you acknowledging me again, but I'll reserve it till Monday.
Okay, like I said, it'll be fine. Mike, anything else? I think that's got everybody else. So I need a motion to move forward with no action.
So moved.
Second?
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully?
Yes.
Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Thank you all for your participation in this issue. So, item number 4.
Consider approval of Resolution 2703 declaring 3 parcels of property, more particularly described in the resolution, as surplus to the needs of the city and authorize the conveyance of said properties or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, you have a revised resolution that should have been sitting in front of you. The original resolution included declaring 3 parcels as surplus. We're only going to declare 2 parcels as surplus. Upon review of the third parcel, it did not meet the requirements, and I requested that it be removed from the resolution. The 2 that we are requesting approval for is one to Sam Egan. It's in the amount of $363. The property is located at 315 North G Street, and it is expanding the existing yard of the property. The second piece of parcel is to Judy and Robert Ferguson in the amount of $363. It's located at 1615 Dorchester Avenue, and it is also expanding the property of the person buying the property. And I'd recommend approval of the revised resolution.
Move for approval.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully?
Yes.
Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 5.
Consider approval of the appointment of Donald Wardlow to serve a 3-year term on the War Memorial Trust Authority beginning September 1, 2017, and ending on August 31st, 2020, replacing Lanny Cartwright, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, I got to know Donald Wardlow as I was attending New Jerusalem Baptist Church. He served in the military. He's very dedicated, dependable. He's served our country, very passionate individual, and I think he'll serve very well on the War Memorial Trust. Be my recommendation.
Move for approval.
Second?
I just have one question. I don't, my copy, I couldn't really tell if they were a Muskogee resident. Okay.
Yes, he
So that
lives in
meets the
Muskogee.
requirements of what we need. Very
Yes.
good. Have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Gully, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
That was a good appointment, Mr. Johnson. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
The motion carries. Item number 6.
Discussion and possible approval of proposal to change the times of city council committee meetings or take other necessary action.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, I'd ask city manager if he could possibly put this on the agenda. One of the things that we had always had Public Works and Finance Committee meetings on at 4 o'clock. And as I looked that over, you know, a lot of times our public comes to these meetings, and it really makes it inconvenient for them to come because most of them do not get off until after 5 o'clock. So I think it would be more appropriate if we moved them to 5 o'clock. The other thing is it would make it easier for some of us that work. But I knew what I signed up for when I took the job. But the other thing is, as we see the potential of new or future council, I think it would make it more appropriate that it would be at 5, and I would propose at 5:15 maybe. And then we would make it more available to the public, because I think Public Works and Finance is really the first time that our public gets to come here and provide their input. A lot of times when we come to City Council, that's kind of when they're kind of getting, it seems like it's the second time around. And then after I put it on the agenda, and I was reading it again to myself, I got to thinking, you know, we may even want to really reconsider our timing on city council meetings. I don't even know if that's appropriate even to talk about that, but, you know, why did they get set at 7 o'clock? And I think it was to make it available to the public of why they could be set at 7 o'clock. But we have, you know, the school board meetings at 6 o'clock. That is still convenient for. So I just wanted to discuss at the possible time of, you know, the possibility of moving our meetings where it would be more available to the public as far as our Public Works and Finance. And I don't know how y'all feel about, you know, maybe we can give up an hour here and switch an hour there, but at least trying to make the timing a little more convenient for the public.
I'd be willing to consider changes one way or the other. One thing that I want to be cognizant of is city staff and what how it might affect them as well. So I'd have to do a little bit of thinking about all that myself.
And also, Mr. Johnson, I like the idea that we think about doing it differently. I also like us to think about if it needs to be a separate agenda item, I'm not sure. You know, do we meet too much? You know, do we need to have 2 Public Works meetings and 2 City Council meetings per month? Or can we accomplish the same thing with 2 meetings? That's a growing concern for me, along the lines of those others who may be able to serve on the council at some point. It's an awful lot of time, and the time of they may be in error succinctly. So,
since we're kind of expanding this item, maybe it will be appropriate to make that modification for Monday night so we can more fully discuss not only committee meetings but council meetings and maybe the frequency. Just kind of broaden the agenda item so that we can talk about all those things.
and I can discuss mine as a separate some other time. I just brought that up, so we need to move forward.
What if we had it as a communications lunch discussion?
I think
first,
that would be good.
And kind of, yeah, maybe. Because I'm not in favor of moving the time. I mean, if you think about it, you got people that work at Downtown and Georgia Pacific.
Hospital.
We're going to need to meet at 8 o'clock in the morning to be convenient for them when they get off work, or some other shift. the hospitals, some of our major employers don't run an 8 to 5 shift, and so I think somebody's going to be excluded.
I understand that, but I think
I don't know that moving the time 1 hour is going to achieve much.
Well,
So, do we want to take no action on this and expand the agenda, or move it to communication lunch so we can expand on that idea?
I would suggest that we do something of that nature to let us all offer up our suggestions and listen to the rationale of different counselors, and I just want to be sure that we're looking at every if this then what. I do know that city staff puts in an awful lot of work here, and I don't want to ignore their families or their soccer games or what have you. So I'd like to spend a little bit of time discussing it. I have not spent any time really thinking about it, so I think it might not be a bad idea to kind of look at the positives and negatives of moves on really the whole gamut.
Just by way of comment, I was in Oklahoma City when I missed the meeting last week, and I was invited to their council meeting the next morning at 8:30 a.m. I said, really? I thought city council meetings always took place in the evening, and I was kind of shocked to see that they did it. But it may be after they do a Public Works Committee and a Finance Committee in an evening setting, and then they do the council where you would have potential consent agenda items moving quickly in the morning. So, I don't know. I thought
the challenge is if you get them where they're during the daytime, you pretty well prevent somebody that could work a job and be able to serve on city council. So you pretty well eliminate people that are of the working class that could be able to serve on city council.
I agree with that.
Again, you've got to think about the shift workers at Georgia Pacific, all the hospitals. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't work Monday through Friday or whatever from 8 to 5.
police
So,
officers,
police
firefighters,
officers.
and EMS.
So,
Yeah,
so, Mr. Johnson, would it be appropriate to direct staff to set up some communication luncheons so we can discuss all of our meeting times in a more appropriate venue? Would that be fair, or are you wanting to make a motion to go forward with this?
That'd be fine. I'll withdraw the item for now.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I think we're all kind of interested in streamlining the time that we spend here, if we can. So
Maybe it could be combined with some other subject for a communication lunch then.
okay. All right. So the item has been withdrawn. Seeing that no citizens signed up to speak to this committee, we are adjourned.